The introduction and part 1 of the transcript of Conscious Communion, Healing Sex, Portland, Oregon, July 14th, 2011, by Tom Jacobs. When I finished channeling the teaching in this book, I wondered to myself why Djehuty didn't spend more time talking about conscious approaches to sex and sexuality. He overheard me. Footnote. For years I have been more or less connected to his consciousness, seeing things through his eyes. As I ponder and ruminate on my own, he sometimes chooses to respond to my thoughts related to what I have been learning from him or what he has been speaking and teaching through me. End of footnote. He overheard me and replied that it was now up to me to go out and teach about this, given that the book naturally sets that up. He said, in fact, opens the door to have conversations about conscious sexuality, something I'd been exploring and living with for a number of years. This chapter is the transcription of an evening of channeling I offered in Portland, Oregon, on July 14th, 2011, at a healing center called The Sanctuary. Each channeling event on the channel lecture tour I did that month, save one, was titled The Return of the Goddess. Bringing to people, in person, the material presented in what you have read in this book to this point. It seems fitting now to include this material on conscious approaches to sexuality and sexual healing to complete what the book offers. The transcript of Conscious Communion, Healing Sex, Portland, Oregon, July 14th, 2011. Djehuty. This is the Ascended Master Djehuty speaking. I would like for you to join me in a meditation so that we can open up, create a space together in order to discuss this topic this evening. Please ensure that you are relaxed in your body. Notice where there is tension. Some tension can easily be released, and to do this where it is appropriate. Some tension can easily be released, and do this where it is appropriate. Gently scan your body for where you're holding tension and evaluate, can I let this go right now? Do so if the answer is yes. Let your breathing be relaxed and easy. Now as you exhale, begin sending cords from your root chakra and the bottoms of your feet into the earth, slowly heading for the center of the earth. This is for grounding. These cords go down and down, headed for the center of the earth. On your inhales, begin inhaling the energy of the earth through these cords into your body. Cultivate a receptive mode. This energy of the earth is a great tool for you in every way at all times, in all circumstances, and yet regarding the topic that we will be discussing this evening, this is in fact critical, as you will see regarding the human relationship with the earth that has been decultivated for the last 6,000 years. As you breathe this energy of the earth into your body, notice its quality. Notice its speed, what kind of flavor it has. It should calm you and bring you into your body so that mind has little to do. As you listen to the voice of this channel, you will be hearing words that comprise a teaching, And yet I wish that you remain connected to the earth in this way so that these words are a part of the teaching, with the vibration being a very important part. So I wish that you be receptive to being here with me, with us, together. The level of consciousness that goes with the job title Ascended Master is, in one way, through one lens, extra-human. And yet Ascended Masters come through channels in order to offer the opportunity for others to adjust to their frequency, to adjust to this level of consciousness and the vibration. If you find yourself relaxed in listening to my voice through this channel, go with it. Go with it. If you find you need to drift off into a dreamlike state, allow it gently. If this happens, it is because you are processing something and you need to take this information in without being fully conscious. You will benefit from this teaching, so please honor what your body, mind, heart, and field are urged to do. Continue with these connections to the earth as we continue speaking. The topic this evening is titled Conscious Communion, Healing Sex. It's a rather provocative title, and yet so many people are ready to get to the bottom of this history of human sexuality that has been shaped and tailored for very specific ends over the last approximately 6,000 years on Earth, during the social, political, religious systems that you might call the patriarchy. I would like to give you some context for this reality on Earth, and then move into how and why you can move through these things. You can release what it is in your field, what is carried in your body as a result about human conceptions and experiences of sexuality from all of this, from all of these millennia. As Seth explained to you before the channel opened, your soul is experiencing many lives on the Earth's timeline simultaneously. As Seth explained to you before the channel opened, your soul is experiencing many lives on the Earth timeline simultaneously. You think of these as past lives because you are conditioned to live through the lens of time. You feel tied to time. This is a normal human way of living, yet now all life on Earth hurtles through space-time toward the end of the man calendar. The veil between dimensions has been said to be parting. I wish to point out that it is, in fact, dissolving before your eyes. Parting implies that you can see a sliver, and then it grows, and you can manage your view of the new reality. A better image of what is actually happening is reflected by that of this veil dissolving. Emotions, memories, passions, and fears that are carried in many of your soul's lives are becoming apparent to you now. From the soul's perspective, all of your lives happen at once, and you are therefore now, in one way, becoming more connected to soul. Many times it can look like emergent crisis, or things from the past that you did not know how to heal, or things from the past that you did not know how to deal with now simply must be dealt with. It can also be that something you perceive you have dealt with decades ago has now come up and cannot be ignored, and you say, I already did this, didn't I? And yes, you did. But because of your consciousness level now, because the veil is dissolving, you are now ready to work with deeper layers of all these issues that come up for you. This is an important juncture in the history of life on Earth. You are now capable of becoming conscious of how it is that you as individuals and a collective have created all of your experiences, have created all of your experiences. Because you see, the point of the Mayan calendar is to track the evolution of consciousness. That is its sole purpose. All interpretive materials you encounter are at best conjecture. Nobody knows what will happen in 2012. It is not real yet. There is no future until you make choices and inhabit the results. The evolution of consciousness requires that you become conscious of yourself as a divine, powerful, creative being. In fact, you have always been so, but throughout history, throughout all these lives lived along the Earth timeline, you have perceived yourself as powerless because things happened to you. This is a central tenet to the teaching about healing sex and sexual history on Earth, because in order to move beyond whatever has happened to you, you must choose to cease identifying as a victim of it and begin to own it as your creation. As a soul, which is a portion of all that is, or the divine intelligence, you have come here to learn lessons. Not like you need to be in school with a judging teacher waiting to wrap your knuckles or something like this. But you come to learn what it is to be human, what it takes, what it requires, what it means to make choices in a human life. All political systems that you fit within, generally speaking, will not honor your true nature as a divine creative being. You are now able to wake up to the fact that you have created all of your reality, and so you must unwind and untangle from all of these systems. So we speak about the patriarchy. Seth observes that in his women's studies class in college 20 years ago, the patriarchy was essentially a 4-letter word, and yet it is simply a reality of life on Earth at present. I will give you a brief overview of why it has occurred, and tomorrow night, in the other event, The Return of the Goddess, we will explore this in deep detail. Footnote: An evening of channeling in Portland, Oregon on July 15, 2011. The recording is available via tdjacobs.com. End of footnote. Your relationship with the goddess has ended thus far in divorce. As you felt you were better than other beings, you didn't understand why you still had to suffer as these other beings did. Therefore, you decided to elevate the masculine in order to be more action-oriented, to feel more in control of your lives, and therefore to be able to protect yourselves. Fashioning the world as your mind would have it. This is the goal of the patriarchy. You are now, as a collective, and many individuals reeling from the effects of suppressed and oppressed and misunderstood sexuality over all these years in the patriarchy, and this is our focus today. You must understand that the diminishment of the feminine, which accompanies the patriarchy, is actually a result of the elevation of the masculine. This is a critical point for you. Humans are deeply writhing in emotional pain about the diminishment of the feminine, and writhing in pain or being angry, anger always covers over pain, will not help you move through it. So understand this truth, that the elevation of the masculine was chosen by all that is, which is you, as a lens to live through in order to see what would happen. Could we protect ourselves more if we were willingly surrendering to the forces of nature, the forces of the earth? Could we fashion a world in which we could remove suffering from our lives? This is a critical and important part of the evolution of all that is, and, therefore, humanity and all of life on earth. And yet you feel deeply the insistences. You remember acutely with sharp pains instances of diminishment of the feminine. As long as you are angry, you cannot get to the pain at the source of these memories. So I invite you to work with the part of you that may have anger. Perhaps you do not have anger, but if there is a part that has anger, understand that this is one or several parts of you, but it is not you. I'm inviting you to choose not to identify with this. I want you to take in this truth that the diminishment of the feminine is in fact an automatic result of the elevation of the masculine. Feminine energy is. Masculine energy does. Whenever there is an imbalance, very clearly one seeks to do something about the other, while the other is trying to be. This is essentially the history of life on earth, the history of humans. Where you are now is that you are able to remember clearly that each being in fact possesses masculine and feminine energy in some proportion. So you are ready to come out of the training of what a woman is supposed to be like, and what a woman is supposed to think and feel and do, and what a man is supposed to think and feel and do. What a good woman is, what a good man is. You are ready to come out of this, and yet you cannot, in fact, do so as long as you are angry about the cultural inheritance you have received regarding these roles. As you have, in fact, become confused about your true nature because there are two kinds of human bodies, now you can see the truth. Individuals, in fact, understand. I have a masculine and feminine within me. Individuals understand this. Humans are not unsophisticated, unaware, checked out, blank animals, automatons, robots. Humans are actually very clever, and humans possess self-awareness and feel what they are feeling and have awareness of this on many levels. Yet it is the cultural teaching that seeks to shape who you think you are. That is what we are addressing here. Each person in this room could say, well, yes, that makes total sense to me. I have always known that every being has masculine within and feminine within. And yet the cultural teaching has hurt every single one of you over these millennia. What does a good man do? A good man does. A good man acts, a good man provides, a good man directs and controls. What does a good woman do? A good woman takes direction and supports whatever man she might be around. Now, this is not in play in your life, and yet you have been shaped by this. Be clear that I see each of you in this room and that you do not live like this. I see this. But I am reaching down into your karmic histories and I am presenting the opportunity for parts of you that have not seen the light of day in thousands of years to vibrate with this truth, this teaching that I offer you today. And so as I say these things, I acknowledge these parts of you that have not felt they could breathe freely, be seen, come out, enjoy the light of day, and be a part of you on a daily basis. And what is it that a good woman does? She takes good direction. She waits to see what the plan is from the man and she supports it. You have been told that this is an appropriate model. This is woven into many of your earth religions. This is woven into your history. The people who won the wars tell the stories. All of these things are woven into the cultural mind so that property can be passed through male lines. The patriarchy had to have a goal, and this is the single goal: the diminishment of natural sexuality, the diminishment of the feminine, the divorce from the goddess, the treatment of women that has unfolded over the last 6,000 years, as well as the treatment of men who are feminine, the treatment of animals, the treatment of the environment. All of these things are sourced in this one idea: property must be handed down through male lines. It establishes a power base that is perpetuated over time. This is so in order that a man know who his children are. The natural biological imperative of a woman's endocrine system, of her physiology, may have her having multiple partners in a relatively brief period of time. If she is in touch with her body, in touch with her sexual nature, she may seek multiple partners in order to give her offspring the best chance. You know this from your junior high biology book. So in order that a man know who his children are, her natural sexuality must be controlled. This is the purpose of marriage as it exists in your Western culture today. The subtitle of this evening you are experiencing almost became Ending the Patriarchal Sex, because that is what we are talking about. Because of the way that a woman is supposed to behave and the ways that a man is supposed to behave, and because of the instruction of marriage, which is set up to ensure property is passed in a very particular way through a very particular sort of process. Natural sexuality has been oppressed and suppressed on your planet. Suppression and oppression lead to distorted expression. Look at the parts of you that are observing your listening to this teaching. If there are parts that react, if there are parts that have opinions, if there are parts that want to stir in your seat because you have something to say, I want you, the grounded, centered part with whom I have been interacting since you each got grounded earlier, to observe these parts. I want you to observe. Do they have anxiety? Are they angry? Are they wanting to tell a story of their history, of your history, or someone in your life close to you who has experienced suppression and or distorted expression of sexuality? I want you to keep in mind this chain of truth I have just offered you. The patriarchy exists to attempt to protect yourselves by controlling the world you live in, and that leads to its goal of passing property down in a very specific way so that power can be stabilized. And then that leads to this issue of marriage and what a man is supposed to be like and what a woman is supposed to be like. Parts of you that may have anxiety or anger are in fact needing leadership within you. So I invite you to take this truth in and provide them that leadership by helping them understand the truth of why this situation has unfolded on earth for the collective and in your lives. As I said earlier, you are all reeling from the effects of these situations and from the emotional debris, the beliefs attached to emotions in your energy fields, in your bodies over these millennia. You have all, in other words, had sex in ways that do not feel right. You have all joined together at least some of the time in these lives where it does not feel right to you, or it is not what you want, or it is not why you want, or what or when or how or with whom. And now I remind you of these cords you have into the earth. I wish that you renew your attention to these cords into the earth and breathing the energy of the earth into your body. This is a serious topic, and I wish that you remain with me and grounded so that you may take it in. Take this in, what I am offering you. In particular, marriages, in particular, relationships that have a sexual component, it is, of course, not true in this present day that there is always a role that must be performed by a man and by a woman. Of course, this is not true. Humans are complex, multidimensional beings. Humans are creative. Humans express their feelings and their inspirations and their love in many, many ways. But if you are experiencing in some way expressions of sexuality that do not work for you, I wish that you see how it is related to the bigger picture of human life on Earth, shaped by patriarchal ways of thinking and being. Again, you are each dealing with this history. It is a macrocosmic issue that every human has experienced in a microcosmic way. One way to speak about this is when one person hurts another person with or through sexuality. Each person involved in this energetic karmic transaction is, in fact, acting out the collective pain, imbalance, and disturbance and divorce from the goddess within, the elevation of the masculine over the feminine. Humans are so angry about, for example, rape, that it is sometimes difficult to get to the pain behind it. Because somebody should do something to stop this violence, we feel we need to stop this violence. What happens is, in our attempt to protect ourselves once this has happened, and in our attempts to protect our loved ones once this has happened, it is easy for humans to take on an attitude of anger in any or all of its forms. In addition to the feelings about these situations, I want you to look at it as acting out the collective imbalance between masculine and feminine. Every single person who has experienced this from one side or the other, whether in making a choice that has led to this expression, or in feeling blindsided by the choice of another in this sort of expression, every single human is acting this out. In this first portion of our conversation this evening, we are focusing on this darker sort of history before we come to the conscious communion part of the story, the healing sex part of the story. Healing sex could be healing sexual history, healing sexual nature, recovering natural sexuality, which is healing. All of these phrases you could substitute for that. And yet it is also healing sex. Healing the topic of sex within your minds and hearts and bodies. There is not a person on the earth who is not aware of somebody else who has been hurt in this way. This channel's mind has been blown by statistics repeatedly. How many young women experience some sort of this violence? And then in general, how many women of any age experience this? You hear this in the news. You have a friend. You have a mother. You have a daughter. You have a cousin. You have a teacher. You have a colleague. You have a grandmother who has experienced this extreme acting out of the divorce from the goddess. I wish to backtrack for a moment to paint this picture in a new light. This collective experience of sexual violence. There is something else important to explore in it. When you said as a collective, as goddess and God and all that is, as the divine intelligence and as a species, we will control our world and we will fashion it in a way so that we can ensure our own protection. When you did this was, in fact, in part, a response to pain from having suffered at what looked like the hands of nature, whom you had always known was your mother. Look at these thumbs we have. Look at these minds, these complex codes of linguistic information we can exchange easily, readily. We are not like these animals. We do not deserve to suffer. We are not like these plants who do suffer, who are cut down, who die, who get diseases. We do not deserve to experience our mother unleashing these terrible weather events that rob us of our food, that force us to move great distances to find more food, that wash our homes away, that swallow our homes in cracks in the earth. This is not what we deserve. We will protect ourselves. This is, in fact, adolescent anger response. This is, in fact, a righteously indignant response. And so the patriarchy itself is a result of anger that is sourced in pain. You have not understood in any way how to deal with this pain. You have asked yourselves and each other, how could your mother hurt us? How could the earth be inhospitable? How could we not be able to create the food that we need in this place that we love? How is it that we can consistently feed 10 of us but not the 18 who live here? What has our mother thought of us, that this is how she treats us? The mother is no longer considered a safe protector, and so this divorce came about. But it is a divorce from the mind of a 13-year-old. Think of yourself as an adolescent. Think of adolescents you know and the rebellion that comes. They do not have all the facts. They are reacting to the emotion of something, but they do not have all the facts. Now, here with me, you have the opportunity to gain some of these facts that you as a collective have lost, have not had. All of these truths that we have been speaking about are the facts that you have been lacking. The why, the layers of why, and the chain of why the patriarchy has come about. Your mother simply loves you. Your mother is the earth. While you are embodied as a human, your physical body is essentially an extension of the earth itself. And your soul, while anchored in this physical body, functions as an extension of the soul of the earth. As we speak tonight about conscious communion healing sex, we point to a greater opportunity, which is healing your relationship with the earth itself, with yourselves, as extensions of this earth. This is, in fact, healing the idea that you do not deserve to suffer. This is not to say that you do deserve to suffer. It is to say that pain and suffering are parts of life. And so you must adapt to this reality, this truth. If you wish to be happy and healthy and offer the gifts that your soul has embodied to offer, then you need to accept responsibility for having created what this situation has brought. You have learned what it is to divorce yourself from your mother, to essentially leave home, camp out in the backyard and refuse to let her feed you, and refuse to let her ask how you are and hold you and perhaps comfort you when you need love and support from your mother. The earth is here not as humanity's enemy, but as the teacher who holds space with love for what it takes to live human lives. And so Gaia is in fact a primary teacher for all humans as she offers herself to you, and she doesn't even ask that you do anything. She asks only that you learn how to love yourselves and thereby each other. Continue breathing in this energy of the earth, opening to allow this energy into your body. Let us speak about what patriarchal sex is. Patriarchal sex is when a man ejaculates his semen into the woman he essentially owns in order to create male offspring, to pass as property, money, power, status, and prestige to. And then when there are girl children, the thought is, well, yes, we'll deal with that. They are necessary too, because other men need women, and these will grow up. As I have said, you are all reeling in pain of the results from this way of being. Even if you do not subscribe to an earth religion at this time, you were probably raised in one. You were probably raised in a monotheistic religion that has a very specific idea of a male God and what that God wants of men and wants of women, what that God has instructed humans to do in order to hold society together, what a man is supposed to do for his family, what a woman is supposed to do for her family, her children, her man. And this patriarchal sex, creating children to perpetuate the system, that is what culture shapers over the last 6,000 years have intended to bring to you to think you should do. As I tell you that you have lived many lives as men and many lives as women all along the Earth timeline, you have in fact done this because in order to be successful with your cultural context, you have had to do this. When you have been a man over the last 6,000 years, in any of these cultures, you have been confronted with being told what it is to respect a woman. And you have been confronted with a choice, which is not always felt a choice, to treat her in a certain way according to the social context. In some ways, you have not felt good about this. In some instances, this has been very difficult for you to choose to do. In some lives, some of you have been confronted with the reality of revealing the transgression of the social contract by the woman who lives in your home, your wife, and watched her be punished by the community at large for doing something outside the norms of the patriarchy or patriarchal sex. This whole system that aims to create boys, and of course girls if they have them, but create boys to pass power to. When you have been men, you have not been taught that whatever you are feeling, whatever you are thinking, wherever your attention is, a given time. When you commune with a woman sexually, you put that energy in her body. Wherever your mind is, wherever your attention is, that is what you offer her in that moment. If a man has taken on the idea of what a man is supposed to do and be, and he is very active, he is doing. He works hard. He stands up for himself and his family. Is the energy of masculine. This energy has been over time, even when loving, put into women all over the globe in ways that are hurtful. I am not even speaking about violence. I am speaking about any time human couples, whatever is going on with a man, can be put into a woman. Now when conscious, divinity manifests. And yet in this system, as women have in some ways become viewed as property, even livestock for the production of appropriate males pass power to. This has not been conscious. The woman is not seen as an equal, and therefore what the man does is what the man does. The choice of the man is what matters, is what this system seeks to teach you and to frighten you into believing. Society cannot be held together if the woman does not do what the man says, and the man is uncertain and definitive and clear about what he wants. So, when you have been men, you have put energy into women that you do not feel good about, whether consciously or unconsciously. You know in your hearts that women are not cattle, livestock, and yet there are some times in many lives you have lived across the earth timeline as men when you cannot treat a woman in other ways and be seen to be doing it. There is a certain idea of respecting a woman which has come into play, but it is all about supporting the patriarchal agenda to pass property down through male lines. If you have been raised in one of these religions, you will be aware that there is a teaching in it about what it means to respect a woman, to love a woman, and yet it is to respect and love a woman if she is willing to remain in this very limited role. You might say, the religion I was raised in didn't do that to women, and it did. It was to make this unnatural teaching, this unnatural political and social requirement, more palatable by telling you that it is respect. Now, as a man in any life, given the nature of yourselves as energetic beings carrying things across time within your systems, let us focus on this present moment, the year 2011. If you are a man, you will have in this life encountered other beings, other humans, whether men or women, that you have in other lives put energy into that you do not feel good about. And it has created karma between you, a perception of energetic credit and debt. You have been confronted with the opportunity to do something different, and you are living in the year 2011, which is a time that has been informed for 40 years by the feminist perspective of demanding equality for women, and longer for other movements such as the civil rights movement demanding equality for others who have different skin colors. So you now have been shaped by these opportunities. For some men, this has been confusing because they perceive, here is this person I'm having a relationship with, or I may have a relationship with, and we seem perhaps to be headed in that direction, and there is the opportunity to be present to what needs to happen now. Because of this energetic credit and debt of karma, the perception of imbalance between the two beings, it has in some ways at some times been difficult to establish a sexual relationship together, aside from the general getting to know you, perhaps a little awkward, adjusting to your rhythm and your body and your needs and likes. Beyond that, there have been times when you have encountered the unconscious. Probably, perhaps conscious, but probably unconscious. Recognition that something bigger is happening and that you have an opportunity to do something with this person that is very important. When you have been a woman on Earth over the last 6,000 years, you have been confronted with the choice to conform to what social systems tell you you are to do if you are to succeed, which for a woman in many times has meant surviving, at least in terms of staying in society and being provided for. And you have been taught by these religions and the social conventions that you are to do what you can for the man you are with. And you have not always felt that you have the right to say no to how communion occurs, or when, or why, or how. Each of you has been responding to the cultural teachings, the cultural edicts of what is supposed to be happening. Again, we're still in the phase of talking about the history, the hows and whys of this history. And so there has been a tremendous amount of energy put into you when you're a woman that has not been conscious, unless you are what might be termed lucky, though of course there is no such thing as luck. And you are with a man who respects you in a real way, who takes responsibility for the feelings he has, and does not put into you what should not be in your space, in your field. But when you have experienced this, it is again acting out the collective imbalance between the masculine and the feminine, the collective misunderstanding about what should be happening, the collective pain about trying to define what natural sexuality is, while overlooking what it truly is. You have also met, as a woman, individuals who have in the past put energy into you, and neither of you has felt okay about it. Now, leaving that where that is, in these current present-day relationships, everyone, all the time, has the option of being fully present to what is happening, to what each individual is feeling and how communion occurs. Each and every person has the opportunity to become present and remain present. End of part 1.